We could do this all morning. Okay. All right, we do have a couple announcements this morning, so if you do have something you'd like to say, get in line. Danny?
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to give a quick announcement, especially to you out there. If you're watching online, we have not been streaming the services, and the plan is to continue that soon. We've had a licensing issue that we were working out, but that seems to be on the way to being resolved, so we will soon be streaming again. But for now, we are recording and posting after the fact. You will be able to continue to find those recordings on our YouTube page. Okay?
So after this next song, we will have a meditation led by Marianne King and our service by our new spiritual leader, Danny Stringham.
At the church within, we meditate to clear the clutter of our minds and to remember that we are one with the mind of God, one with the mind of the great I Am. Feel free during this little period of time to close your eyes or not. Move around in your seat until you're comfortable. And take the next few deep breaths with me. First, we're going to breathe in and hold it. Then we're going to breathe out together. Breathe in, hold. Breathe out. Breathe in, hold. Breathe out. Now, in the next inhalation, allow relaxation to move throughout your body. Start at your feet, up the legs, your torso, paying close attention to the shoulders that we somehow think we must hold up, the neck, the head, the brow. Relax and breathe. Silently, if it is comfortable for you, repeat these words after me. I am free. I am unlimited. I am free. I am unlimited. Now allow those words to just settle down inside of you. In today's meditation, I invite you to examine freedom, renewal, and awe and wonder as these show up in your life. First, freedom. In the present, you are free to take charge of your life. You can choose to hear with new ears, see with new eyes, think and create from a different mind. You are not limited by a past you can no longer live in, or concerns about a future that has not yet arrived. Bless the past, whatever it has been up until now. Take whatever you need for your spiritual development and bid it goodbye. The future. You are free to anticipate the excitement of a bright future without becoming anxious. take a breath. This day, this now moment, begin again. This freedom allows you to choose to communicate with the presence of God within. No situation, no incident, no event or personal encounter has power unto itself. You choose what to hear, what to see, what to believe. Paul, in writing to the Corinthians, put it like this: "The Lord is Spirit. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Renewal. You are renewed, refreshed, and reinvigorated. Every day brings opportunities to be all you were created to be. Life becomes sweeter and brighter as you seek a new understanding of your true self, a self created in the image and likeness of God, the likeness of Spirit. Embrace this spiritual truth. As you take the next breath, deepen and consider awe and wonder. Allow awe and wonder to be your guides and joy to lead the way. Plant your physical feet firmly on an upward path, making every step rooted in a spiritual knowing that goes far beyond what the human eye can see or the human mind can understand. God and you are one. In Job chapter 8, verse 21, I quote, and it reads, "He," meaning God, "will once again fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy." He, meaning God, will once again fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. In closing, you are free to take charge of your life. You can choose to hear with new ears, see with new eyes, think and create from a different mind. You are renewed, refreshed, and reinvigorated. Every day brings opportunities to be all you were created to be. Allow awe and wonder to be your guides and joy to lead the way. Amen. As you come back to the awareness of this room, please know that the foundation of the church within is prayer. If you ever have a need for someone to pray for or with you, when away from church, online, you can go to thechurchwithin.org and make a request there. There's also a box in the back of this room where you can write out a request and put it there. If you are in need for someone to pray with you today, I will be available after service at the back of the room near the exit door.
Thank you, Marianne. Wire there. How are we doing? Can I hold it? Yes, I can hold it. Great. We have a temporary sound system now that we set up and tear down each time. We're experiencing some things with that. We also had a TV up here on the stage last week, but we got the screen working this time. It's a work in progress. Continuous creation. I wonder if that screen could play the World Cup. Anybody going to watch the World Cup final later? Who are you rooting for? Okay. I saw a funny Monty Python skit recently. It was the Greeks versus the Germans in the Philosophers World Cup. The Greeks had players like Socrates, Aristotle, Archimedes. The Germans had Kant, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, so on, right? The referee, Confucius. When he blew the whistle, the philosophers did not actually play the ball. They rather just walked about the field philosophizing, right? It's a good sketch, and I highly recommend you looking up on a world every 4 years or so when the World Cup is happening, at least that often. It's worth your time. And the reason that I bring that bit up today is that I've found myself spending a lot of time with the players on that pitch, right? The philosophers of our world. I read, I sit with those philosophers, I try to understand what it is that we are doing here, right? What it means to live a life. And there is one story from Nietzsche, actually, that found me back when I was about 20 years old. I spent many years considering getting a tattoo or a set of tattoos representing this story, but I could never settle on the design or the location. I think I understand now why. You can't pin this story still on a wall. It doesn't hold. It's forever changing, like the setup and teardown of this room. It is spiraling onward. And this thing that I considered getting a tattoo, it's called the 3 Metamorphoses of the Spirit. Has anyone familiar with that? Well, as I recall, it goes like this. As a person goes through life, they must endure 3 metamorphoses. It starts with a camel. A camel takes on heavy burdens and travels far without need for much sustenance. This spirit is stout and steady and ready for the long night of the soul. The camel doesn't ask whether the burden is fair. The camel kneels, takes the weight, and walks. But when the camel reaches exhaustion, something must save the spirit. So it transforms into a lion. A lion is proud. It will not endure the burdens, will not be held down by a rule or a ruler or even a serpent dragon. The lion fights off all challengers, and the spirit is set free. But like I said, the lion is proud. He will not entertain challenges to his authority or consider new ways of being. So metamorphosis must occur once more, and the spirit becomes the child. The child is a blank canvas, and she is the one holding the brush. She does not inherit the old "thou shalt not." She creates. This is how I recall the 3 metamorphoses of the Spirit, though I didn't really look it up. I sort of I grazed the notes on Google Docs to make sure that I was getting it right. But if you read it, you might take something else different, so I encourage you to do so. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, it's because I regularly return to this story when thinking about my spirit, and because I think it is one of the most useful maps I have ever found for understanding where a person or a people actually is. Now, Nietzsche might think that this metamorphosis is a line, that you do the metamorphosis once, and when you arrive at the child, that's it. You're the Superman or the Supergirl. But we know that's not how it works. The world just keeps going. It spirals on and on. You are regularly given opportunities to repeat lessons, or perhaps entertain new ones, but always this idea of the camel, the lion, and the child is very helpful. Each of these beings carries something irreplaceable. The camel carries dignity under load, not merely endurance, but dignity. There is something noble in the being who shows up, who carries what needs carrying, who doesn't make the desert about their own suffering. The camel is the building block, the one who makes things possible for everyone who comes after. Now, the lion carries the refusal to be deceived. The lion's roar is a moral act. It names the false authority for what it is. Without the lion, inherited wrong becomes permanent trauma, simply because no one was willing to say otherwise. And the child carries the willingness to begin, not naivete, not ignorance, trust. The trust required to set down everything you thought you knew and pick up what's actually needed now. That is harder than it sounds and rarer than we pretend. So, where do we find ourselves here as a civilization? I'll tell you where I think we are. I think we are a people who have stopped trusting our institutions. This is not merely an impression that I have. It has been studied, measured, and documented. Trust in government, in the church, in education, in press, in medicine, it has fallen steadily and remarkably. And I want to sit with that with us here for a moment, because I think there are at least two very different things that loss of trust could mean. It could mean the lion finally has woken up, that something in the collective spirit has recognized the dragon, the false authority that was never actually earned, and has decided at last not to kneel, that the refusal is a moral act, a necessary one. Or it could be something less brave. It could be that distrust has become a permission slip. If nothing deserves trust, nothing requires effort. If every institution is already corrupt, well, I can't be blamed for failing to build one, or sustain one, or show up for one. If nothing is worth joining, I never have to risk discovering whether I was capable of it. I leave these two options intentionally open. I'm quite sure that it could be both at the same time, that you could be the lion roaring against a false authority, and that you could be reserving a portion of yourself for a reason you don't understand. I think we each carry some of both. Only we can know in any given moment which one is speaking and which one deserves heeding. But here's what I also know. Life is a spiral, and it has always spiraled on. There was never an idyllic past where good folks with free time founded just organizations on solid ground. That is a story we tell ourselves, but it is false. The people who built what we have inherited, the volunteer orchestra or the small congregation or the neighborhood association, they were all tired and they were all stressed. They were navigating their own prejudices and scarcity and impossible schedules. They cobbled something together with the hands and hours that actually held. And now we are the inheritors of whatever they lashed together to give us. We may be busy. I mean, we probably are, right? But it behooves us to bother to continue to try. The board needs board members. The orchestra needs people who will show up to rehearsal. Not because the institution is perfect. It isn't. It never has been. But because the alternative is watching something built by exhausted, faithful hands slowly come apart because we decided it wasn't worth our exhausted, faithful hands. And so, the camel. There is a living dharma, a flow of spirit that moves through all things. We spent a Sunday talking about it at the beginning of the year. Does anybody remember that? Sometimes the dharma flows ahead of us, and what's left behind is dry ground, and we have no choice but to cross. Not romantically, not because we feel called, but because the alternative is lying down in the sand. So we take on the burden, even when we're already loaded, even when it feels like we are already carrying a full pack. And here is the even harder discipline buried in that. We don't get to use someone else as our excuse. We know not what others carry. We only know what we can honestly carry ourselves. Some people are moving quietly through a desert we cannot see, carrying what we cannot imagine. And they still show up. Or they don't. They can't, for whatever unseen reason. Whether they are next to you carrying what seems like not enough weight, or they are away from you, we trust they are carrying what they must and what they can. So then we dig deep. We show up. And somewhere around hour 40 of the crossing, all us camels ask the same question. How are we ever going to get out of this? I'm getting quite tired. Where is our oasis? Where are we even going? Right? Let's take a breath. I find this moment rhymes with a very old story. The story of Exodus. The story of a people wandering, burdened, in a desert, and a promise of something on the other side. All my life, certainly all of our children's lives, we have been told of the consequences coming for us if we do not stop what we are doing to the atmosphere. It's like Moses saying, "Let my people go," and how we suffer the plagues, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the heat waves, the wildfires, the coral bleaching, the plastic in the ocean, and even in our blood. So where then is the promised land? How do we get out of this? I think I've caught a glimpse, and I want to share the vision. I think that is my job this morning, or at least part of it, to give a vision of the new promised land. The promised land at its core is something the futurists have started calling solar punk, which is a totally awesome term. And I want to describe that because the word may be new, but the idea is quite ancient. Solar punk is a community that does not pipe in its electricity and heat from somewhere far away, extracted from something that cannot be replaced. It is a community that has figured out how to work within its landscape, that understands abundance is not a default setting, not a machine you simply plug in. We have been sold that idea that we could always have everything, and what a wonderful idea to buy into. What a thing to want to give our children and each other. But it's not true. The world is not a growth machine. The world is a spiral. It is woven into the strands of DNA that carry our code. It is set in motion upon the cosmos as the moon orbits the earth, that orbits the sun, that orbits through a spiral arm of the Milky Way. We do not go in lines. We spiral. And a civilization built on an assumption that the line always goes upward, that more is always available because more has always arrived, is a civilization that has confused a season with a law. Now, I want to be generous here, okay? The last 80 years or so has presented us with a great, proud lion who brought home a spectacular hunt. There was real abundance and real medicine. There was real warmth and real food and real comfort for more people than ever imagined. The lion was not lying when he said this works. It worked. The problem is that the lion needs the line to go up. His power comes from the line. And when the spiral curves, as it always does, the lion has no answer. He can only roar louder. But he's roaring at math, and math doesn't care. It just is. We have come to understand. We have studied and seen the cause and effects throughout history and in our hearts and minds and spirits. The promised land is a people united, one that is abundant because we live in balance with our natural landscape. Robin Wall Kimmerer, the botanist, author, and member of the Potawatomi Nation, describes what she calls the honorable harvest. Before you take, you ask. You take only what you need. You leave enough. You give thanks. You share. You take only what is given. These are not deprivations. They are the grammar of right relationship. Language the child would need to learn when she arrives. A no from the living world is not a failure of the economy. It is the economy working correctly. And here's the thing I want most of you to know about this promised land, okay? All of you, in fact. It already exists. Not everywhere, of course. We don't live in it here, but it's not loud. By definition, it is local. The people living it are not on the news. They are not trending, right? If you were not near them, you wouldn't even know they were there. That is the point. There are intentional communities, solar punk neighborhoods, indigenous land relationships that never stopped. A farmer 2 counties over who still asks the land's permission. They are there, quietly, the way all good things grow. And the promised land also exists as aspiration, the way the founding documents of this country have always existed as aspiration. A description not of what is, but of what we are aimed at. We have never fully arrived at we, the people, holding these truths self-evident, right? We're aspiring for it. But we can still let the ideas reorganize our walking. We can let the ideas allow us to spiral towards that shining, guiding light. Some of us here are younger, and for you, I want to say plainly, this is a thing you can do. It is a thing we can do, though, like Moses, I may not make it with you. You can join an intentional community. I have a directory. See me after if you want to know about it. It might be a little bit out of date, but I bet it's still pretty good. And for those of us who are further along in our journeys, who don't intend to join an intentional community, perhaps we can just let the vision of the promised land reorganize how we see. And we can grant permission to those that want to go, because granting permission is perhaps the most powerful thing an elder can do. So let's look back, okay? This is another part of the spiral. As it spins, sometimes you're facing backwards. Back to the 3 metamorphoses. Something happened as we went on this walk through the desert and into the promised land. We skipped the lion. We left the lion and his spectacular hunt behind. We went from Camel, from burden-bearing endurance, from the long, dry crossing, straight toward the child, toward the new beginning. And I want to be clear, I think that was right for this particular crossing. The institutional distrust we named earlier, the lion's temptation to fight everything rather than build anything, we set that aside. At least for now. We choose to carry rather than to destroy. But know this, the lion will be needed. There are dragons that must be tamed. There are false authorities that must be refused. The lion's hour will come again. The child, let's talk about the child again. Let's imagine her in the meadow of the promised land, a little toddler solar punk eating pecans from our food forest while our water wheel spins in the background. Nietzsche, in his commitment to the idea of the Superman, claims the child to be an entirely new thing, beholden to nothing and no one. Do we think that works? I think we know that doesn't work. I think we need each other, right? No human is an island. I am because we are. To go far, we must go together, even when we might feel so much faster alone. The child is simply not so proud. She is wonderful, full of wonder, curious about the next best thing, even if that next thing might seem cowardly. She's willing to listen to a quiet companion that has walked through the desert, whereas the lion might tell the quiet companion, hey, stay quiet, right? You're supposed to be behind me. The child will listen. And the child knows, because she has been paying attention, that the tools she uses did not fall from heaven for her alone, right? They were crafted and shipped as part of this wonderful economy and civilization that we still enjoy. The lumber was milled by someone she will never meet, and the saw carries hundreds, no, thousands of years of accumulated human cleverness about how to cut wood straight. The very idea of community is handed down through every tired, faithful group of people. Handed from one group who lashed something together in a rented room to another group who decided, yes, this is worth showing up for. Again and again. And so our child of the future understands that we are born of the living soil, and to the soil we will return. Our child knows she will need to fix what can be fixed and leave future generations permission to do over what she has done not quite right. That this is all and has always been a work in progress, continuous creation. We are always trying to fix the mistakes we experienced while also inevitably creating unintended consequences for our descendants. That is part of the deal. Every generation growing up, trying to fix what happened to you, inevitably creating new problems for your children, problems you could not have seen because you were busy solving the ones that you were given. So, we're out here doing our best, right? We lash it together as well as we can and we hand it forward, not as a gospel, but as a gift, with a note attached that says, hey, change what needs changing. We trust you. Our children must be deputized to the duty of maintaining this living soil, understanding that what it needs in a generation may be very different from what it needs now. Just as we had to tend what was given to us, they will tend what we give them, and the ones who come after and after. And there it is, the spiral. We are spiraling onward just as the Earth spirals around the sun, as the entire solar system hurls through space. Spirals on and on, looking back and forward and across at ourselves. A double helix of the impossibility of life made manifest. Imagine our spirit, not in one phase, but in all of them at once. You can zoom in and see each strand of this Trinity, the children of the mind, the camels of endless endurance, the pride of lions, all spiraling round each other, round and round, like an engine. Zoom out and we see only light, an absolute splendor of light, blinding in its brilliance. Further still, and the light becomes a path. It is our path, the spiritual path we make by walking. Further still, and the light can seem small, almost insignificant. But that's only because we've wandered so far away. Come home with me. Back here. Back now. Back again. And so it is.